NFL Week 5. Welcome to Winning in the Shadows. Andy, Jim, and Corbin here. We're going to break down everything from a props and parlay standpoint. We're going to talk a little in the trenches, go over some offensive and defensive lines issues. We're going to go over our best bets at the end of the show. Corbin's going to give us some alternate lines and some same game parlays. Let's get right into it. While you guys are watching, if you could, hit the like button. Always helps the algorithm out. And let's see, what can we do for our word of the day? Print. Word of the day is print. Leave a comment. If you don't have a hot take on your best bet, just type the word print in the comment section. Corbin loves the word of the day. It's the most ridiculous algorithm boosting thing, but it helps us out a ton, and we love you guys for it. All right, let's go over weather. Only a couple games with weather. Corbin, to the surprise of nobody, there's a chance of rain in the European game.
Surprise, surprise. It rains here constantly, so
Yeah, Jets and Vikings. So I think you can just pencil in drizzle.
yeah,
for
that's
all
pretty accurate.
for all
Don't
of
need a
us.
weatherman to tell you that. Jeez.
Colts at the Jaguars. It does look like there's going to be some rain for the Colts and Jaguars. So expect that to be just a little bit wet. And then Cowboys and Steelers. It's starting to become fall, and it's Pittsburgh, so of course it's not going to be perfect weather. So 70% chance. So keep your eye out on those. Of course, we're recording this on Saturday, so weather always subject to change. We'll go over a little bit of the injury report here. There's just so many. It's
Yeah.
like it's just so many to go over. So we'll go over some big ones. Jim look, Mosley's not going to play.
No.
So that's going to help out the Vikings offense. Real quick, what do you expect from the Jets defense? Is this the Jets defense from the beginning of the season, or do we need to reel in expectations?
We'll go into it a little deeper when we get to
Okay.
the in the trenches, but they have some issues on that
Okay.
defense.
All right. Bears and the Panthers. Nothing too notable for this one. Ravens and Bengals. Just the Bengals defense, very, very banged up. We're going to expect a pretty good day from the Ravens offense. Khalil Shakir is out for the Bills. That is going to hurt that passing game. And then Mixon's going to be out. We'll talk about Cam Akers a little bit. For the Colts, Corbin, you were asking who we have at quarterback. I think it's going to be Flacco. That's my best guess.
I would love that.
Yeah, listen, if you're rooting for Colts wins, yeah, I think you would like that too. Richardson with a bad hip, not great. So, Jaguars, Evan Ingram looks like he's going to play with the hamstring. I mean, my God, the Dolphins and the Patriots.
Just pass.
These
Just carry,
defenses
just
are
carry
just
on going.
brutal, man. The question is, can the offenses even take advantage of
No.
it? So,
We don't even know who's going to play in that game.
we
It's
really
an absolute train wreck.
really don't. The Commanders, I think the big one from a props betting standpoint is keep your eye on Brian Robinson. McNichols is out there in fantasy leagues. If you're in a deeper league like one of my leagues, I went and grabbed him. I may end up starting him, even though Eckler looks like he's going to play. For the Raiders, Devontae Adams and his trade issue. I mean, hamstring is out. Samir White is out. That's probably not that big of a loss there. So Cardinals and 49ers. You know, the 49ers, like Kittle's playing, Debo's playing. I'm just not sure they're 100%. So
Oh, they're
I'm not
not.
sure it's like I'm starting Jawan Jennings in a fantasy league. I still am.
Love it.
Cardinals got a couple issues, but nothing for props. Packers, Corbin, do you know what's going on with Romeo Dobbs here?
I actually do not. I saw that pop up earlier. I do not know. He's not going to play, I don't think, from what
Okay.
I've read. Nor is Watson by the sounds of it. But yeah, not
Yeah,
sure
well,
why on Dobbs.
Watson looks like he's probably going to miss a little bit of time, so Dontavian Wicks is probably going to be a really good one. Malik Neighbors, huge loss for the Giants, and now Devin Singletary is out. I'm not sure Singletary is that big of a deal, but the Seahawks, man, their defense, God, when they're healthy, they're one of the best. They're just not healthy, so
That Boye Mafe right there, that's the one to watch.
yeah.
He makes that defense go.
Yeah, so keep your eye on that one. It's a really good week for the Giants to take advantage of a banged up Seahawks defense, but can they do it without Neighbors and Singletary? I don't know. Cowboys, boy, their passing game wasn't very good going in there. Now they don't have Brandon Cooks, and their defense is pretty banged up. We'll talk about some of the props. I think I'm pretty high on some of the Steelers props here. So, all right, that is going to do it for the injury report. All right, let's get into going over some of these passing props. Man, what a swing and a miss I had thinking Kirk Cousins was going to go under 1.5 touchdown passes on Monday night. That game ended up being a complete shootout. Let's go to some of these passing props. Corbin, I'll go to you. You like any passing props for this London or for this European
I've
game?
I've got Rodgers over 32.5 pass attempts circled. The Jets can't run the ball, as we evidently saw last week with Hall, which play just fell on its ass very quickly. They
Easy.
have so many struggles on offense, not just running the ball, but like the missed opportunities in the passing game that leads to some of these situations where he has to pass in even more situations. I think he's going to take the game into his own hands and just say, you know what? I'm the best player on this team. I'm going to try and carry our offense here. He had 42 attempts and 35 attempts the last 2 weeks. The Vikings can put up points quite easily. I don't see a world where the Jets are like ahead and just running out the time. So yeah, I'm going to go with Rodgers over 32.5 pass attempts.
Jim, you like any of these passing props?
I mean, you could go. Not really. What's the line on Sam Darnold's touchdowns? Is he
So
1.5?
Yeah, it's 1.5 here. You're getting -135 on the under, plus 105
With
on the over.
Mosley out, I think there's value on the 1.5 over because Aaron Jones is going to be a receiving threat. And with Mosley out, they really only have one good linebacker on that defense. That's an all-pro in Quincy Williams. So with Mosley out, it depends what you want to do. If you want to have Williams go with him, Aaron Jones, then look for the tight ends. If it's flip-flop, Aaron Jones could have a real big day receiving. And I can most certainly see him sneaking in one touchdown. Then you just need one to, I mean, hey, you're throwing it, the best receiver in the league. I could get one more from him. So I wouldn't be shocked to see the Jets give up two.
I was looking a little bit at Sam Darnold under 218.5. That pass defense, like in the secondary, is really good. They're not allowing this, and Darnold has actually gone under in 2 out of the 4 games this year. I'm not sure how the script is. Maybe a little bit of bad weather. Maybe they run it a little bit more. My opinion is you can attack the Jets a little bit better on the ground. Not going to get to the window on it, but those are leans. Colts and Jags. Corbin, you and I agree. Man, we'd love to see Flacco play for the
I've
Colts.
literally got in my notes, Flacco props, please! Exclamation mark. I will take full advantage of the poor Jags defense if I can. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I kind of like Trevor Lawrence to go over this week. I don't know how.
Wow.
I probably won't play it, but what I found, I was trying to find an angle because the Colts are really bad versus the pass. I mean, they made Caleb Williams look good. Maybe it's the passing touchdowns at over 1.5 at plus 100. He got 2 last week. It's kind of one of those where the spot seems good and it could easily be a way to boost his confidence and try and reignite the Jags. But do I trust him? Probably not.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I was excited to fade the Colts defense last couple years with Trevor Lawrence. I think we cashed a couple of them, but
We did.
he just never obliterates teams like he should. You're like, oh, he's set
Yeah.
up for a huge game. Then he has like 220 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. You're like, what's going on here?
Don't forget the 5-yard rush fumble that he's always good for.
It's-
Slide.
it's-
Have you not learned to slide yet?
Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. You could tempt me with Joe Burrow over 250.5, mostly because I don't think that the Bengals are going to have much success running. The Ravens rank very high for rush defense. Not so much in the pass. You can move the ball on them. Jim, you got any quarterback plays in this one?
I worry about Joe Flacco in this game. I think he's
Joe
going
Burrow?
to take
Joe
Joe
Flacco?
Burrow. Yeah,
Jeez,
Flacco.
everyone's got
this game's
Flacco
real
on their
bad.
mind.
I know we can't help think about little old Joe Flacco. I think Burrow's in trouble. I think
Oh.
he's in trouble. I think he's in trouble physically. That offensive line is horrible still. They've been trying to fix it for 3 years, and it still stinks. I don't know how, but it does. But this could be a pass rush field day for Baltimore right now. They got Justin Matambuke in the center. Away is good. Kyle Van Noy has 5 sacks in, I think, 3 games. He's just a career resurgence. That O-line is bad. They're good. If Baltimore starts running up the score on them and they drop back to pass and Baltimore knows it every play, I'm worried about Joe making it through this game. I don't know if he'll be there in the fourth. And honestly, if I'm the coach, I'm pulling him if it looks like it, because there's no reason to get him any more injured than he already is.
Corbin, you like any of these quarterbacks?
No.
All right. We'll move on to the
Better answer, Corbin.
Browns at the Commanders. Deshaun over 1.5 at plus.
Oh, don't do it to yourself, Andy.
Nope.
Just don't do it to yourself.
I can't bet on Deshaun Watson, but man, I really want to fade this Commanders secondary. So, I don't know.
You almost hope he goes under just so you get a better price on the week after. I don't know who it is the week after, but
Yeah, I get what you're saying. In the end, no, I'm staying away. I think this could be a little bit of a letdown week for the Commanders. So I'm not going all in on Jaden Daniels and Watson. I'm showing patience. So
I'll go next if you want.
Next week is the Ravens, by the way.
Oh yeah, we'll take Lamar Jackson. How is Caleb Williams at 213.5? I've gone through all his passing props this week, and I can't understand why any of them are so high. Basically, I'm still not convinced he's any good. He doesn't look accurate, and he's not throwing it deep. So if
if you're going to take all that into consideration,
so through 4 games he has 157, 174, 93, and the one game where he torched your Colts that can't defend anything for 363. And you're telling me the total's at 214 now? Like, I love it, but then I'm expecting the Panthers are better versus the pass than the run, and I'm expecting the Bears to do a lot of running the ball here. Like, I look at all the totals, I'm like, I love under 1.5 passing touchdowns as well. He has 3 throughout the whole year, and 2 of them came against your Colts. His longest is under 34.5. Again, he's had 27, 27, 13, and the 47 against the Colts. It's like I love all 3 of those plays against Caleb this week, and I don't quite understand why the totals are where they are. So
I think I like your 34.5 under longest completion. That's a really good one.
That's a good one.
I think that's your best one. That's an untapped market. I bet the books are kind of overlooking that one. So, yeah, the Bears are a pretty good defense. Dalton, I think we lost the value on him. Maybe plus 165 over 1.5 touchdowns. If they get behind, they need to throw a little bit.
What's the pass completions for Andy?
For Mr. Dalton.
For Mr. Dalton, captain check down.
20.5. That's pretty low.
I like the 20.5. I looked at it at 21.5 last week, and I believe he came in at 26. And he sailed over that mark in his first start.
One.
I do like the completions because I think the Bears are going to do a good job stopping the run. Chuba got a lot of work last week.
Yes, he did.
I wonder, it's not really something he's used to. I wonder if there's a bit of fall off and we have to see Andy go to the short passing game.
That's interesting. The Bears, they're not amazing. Again, they have 4.5 yards per carry, so they're not amazing. They're middle of the road. But you're right, Dalton. It's tough to see Dalton kind of opening it up against the Bears. At 20.5,
that seems low to me.
Speaks to me. Bills and the Texans. Corbin, you love C.J. Stroud. Do you like any props with him this week?
I actually don't. I'm struggling. It's one of those. I'm struggling with the game script in this game. I don't quite know how it's going to go. I think maybe passing touchdowns again for him, but I think I'm gonna lay off this game.
I'm laying off a little bit as well. I like, who's Josh Allen throwing to these days now? Like, it just feels like such a depleted.
Kincaid, Knox. I guess they're the only ones that spring to mind.
Yeah, I don't know.
Even Knox is only getting 1 or 2 targets a game.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at Allen props, maybe it's rushing. But we'll get to the rushing props there. Dolphins and Patriots. My goodness, Jacoby Brissett, Tyler Huntley.
Somebody's got to throw for a touchdown in this game, no?
I mean, I was actually looking at playing them both to throw for a touchdown. Like, these defenses are they're so banged up. Mm-hmm. That being said, I can't put my hard-earned money on Jacoby Brissett and Tyler Huntley. I just can't.
Do you expect an uptick in the trust for Tyler Huntley after this week? You don't think that McDaniel finally just says, he's still an NFL quarterback. Maybe I should let him throw the ball.
Well, it just feels like they're running the exact same offense with a quarterback with completely different skill set than Tua.
Exactly.
So I don't know what to expect.
I don't see him adjusting. I think
Okay.
they're just going to carry on just doing the same thing and failing. quite
Ugly
honestly.
game. The over under for this game's 36. And to be honest, how do you get 7 touchdowns, or how do you get 5 touchdowns and a field goal out of these two offenses? So I don't know. Cardinals at 49ers. Man, that Brock Purdy over 1.5 touchdown passes is just like a glowing. Bet me. Bet me. We're playing the Cardinals. Bet me. It's minus 150. I will tell you, Brock Purdy to throw just 1 touchdown would be a great parlay piece. You could throw it with like C.J. Stroud, Geno Smith, a couple of these other guys. If there's one play that I'm looking at in this game for quarterbacks, it's Purdy over 1.5. Corbin?
I'm going to pass on this game again. I have something in the next game, but not this one.
Jim, you like any of these quarterbacks?
Oh, I'm lockstep with you on the Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
That's the magic number with Brock Purdy is 1.5. He doesn't throw 3.
Throws 2.
He throws 2.
All right, Raiders and Broncos. Corbin.
Yes, I like Minshew under 188.5 passing. Again,
What
who
a
is
low
he throwing
number.
to? Who is he throwing to? The Broncos are third best versus the pass. No Devontae Adams. He got just 130 last week and 214 the week before against the Panthers. He's thrown to Bowers and Myers, and if they're smart, they will double team Myers and leave just Bowers and who?
Surtain. I mean, it's interesting what the Broncos are going to do. I'm not sure if you'd put Surtain on. Do you put Surtain on Jacoby Myers to take him out and double Bowers, or do you put Surtain on Bowers?
I think you have this game ready to rock, and you watch the first possession and decide from there and attack it live. I know we're talking pre-flop reads, but
I don't care who they double. I don't see
gotta
how he
know.
gets 188.5. I don't care which one of them they go to.
Honestly, Corbin, you're 100% right about this one. This is like 188.5. That is that just feels like a mountain too high.
And it's a great point too with that, Corbin, is if it's going bad for Minshew, aren't we teetering on the O'Connell experience? We're teetering on O'Connell coming in, aren't we? At this point, like we could very well not see Minshew the second half.
I like that play, Corbin. That's a sneaky one. I hadn't even looked at that one. All right, Giants and the Seahawks. I mean, you could take a look at Daniel Jones under 183.5. Who's that guy throwing to? You've got
Daniel Bellinger.
Oh no! Yeah, Jim, you like either of these quarterbacks?
No,
okay.
Definitely not.
All right, we'll move on to Packers and Rams. Jordan Love. Corbin, you like Jordan Love this week, or do you think this is a Rams defense that is so beat up on like both sides of the ball?
It's one of those. I think we'll mention it. I have a Packers related bet coming up later, but I expect the Packers to have success whatever they try to do. You've just gone to it, but the over 1.5 for Jordan Love is where I was thinking. It's kind of hard to know who we're going to go to because I was doing the receivers and we'll get to it when we get there, but I literally have like Kraft and Wicks and Reed, and I like all of them, but their totals are kind of right. It's kind of hard to pick which one of those three is going to occur. So I think maybe but then again, Jacobs could just run it in a couple of times and then he doesn't need to pass it as many times. It's kind of one of those, it's an inviting kind of prop, but I think the numbers are kind of in the right place kind of thing.
I'm with you. I did a preview video and I like the Packers over 25.5 or 26.5, whatever team total. Both games that Love has started, they've scored 29 points, and this Rams team isn't stopping anybody. Cowboys and the Steelers. That Justin Fields over 186.5 seems to be very, very inviting. I'm not sure how Dallas is going to put pressure on there. Jalen Warren is still out, so I'm not. Najee Harris is going to have a lot of carries, but I just feel like Fields is going to have all day to throw. Jim, what do you think? Do you like Dak and maybe? I don't know. Dak.
No, I don't like Dak.
Yeah.
No.
Say how you feel, Jim. Come on.
Yeah.
No, I'll tell you what I do like is Dak to throw an interception.
Oh,
That's where I was going with this game.
Ooh.
I expect the Steelers defense to make Dallas's life a living hell.
I feel like sometimes we don't pay enough attention to the interception market. Like, how many
No.
interceptions do you see a week? And like we rarely touch on it. Like, it
And
doesn't take a lot to throw an interception nowadays.
You get them in such garbage situations too. You know,
Exactly.
there's 5 seconds left. You're on the 40. They throw a Hail Mary. You get the interception. So, I mean, essentially, if you expect the team to be down, then that interception is going to be on the table. It just has to be. Look, Dak's turnover prone. This is in grass. We're looking at possibly bad weather. That Steelers defense is pissed because TJ Watt got absolutely mugged last week, and nobody is throwing the flags. They are aggravated. They are mad about it. They've been talking about it. I think they're ready to make a statement against Dallas in wet grass in Pittsburgh. That is not Dallas's winning recipe. So I like Dak for maybe 2 turnovers in this game, a fumble and interception.
Before we move on, Andy, can we quickly what's like Huntley to throw an interception? Because similar to what Jim was saying, if we have any kind of suspicion that they're going to start opening up and throwing the ball, I think the Patriots could easily get an interception versus him.
It's only minus 115 on Huntley.
If they have the attempts, that's the big question. If they're going to let him throw.
Again, I feel like it's one of those, Jim, you mentioned about watching live. If you tune in to the first play and they suddenly start letting him throw the ball,
Yeah.
I feel like that's a read that you could make and try and take a live on to have one interception.
Well, as the time clicks off, if you watch the interception market live, the number constantly gets better. Constantly, because it's all about time left in the game and possessions. So you can grab it at halftime, maybe at a better number.
Yeah. Exactly.
Let's move to rushing yards. Jim, what do you make of the Jets and Vikings? Any rushing props you like in this one?
Well, with that CJ Mosley news being out, I like Aaron Jones. I think this game is going to get kind of ugly for my Jets. I really, really do. 64 is a little bit high. I'm not going to look at Breece Hall's rushing just because I think they're going to use him in the passing game. I mean, the coaching staff took so much flack about running Breece Hall into the line 3 times and not giving the 6 foot, 6'3"
bowling ball,
240-pound bowling ball that carries at the goal line. So I can't take Breece Hall in this situation. That Braylon Allen number at 30.5, if this game does get ugly, Breece Hall can go sit on the sidelines. Braylon Allen's going to get all of the carries in the fourth quarter if they're down by 3 scores and they send Rodgers out and we get the Tyrod Taylor, Braylon Allen experience for the fourth quarter. So I would be looking at that 30.5. We've seen him get this on 3 or 4 carries this season. So that's the only place I would be looking. The 64.5 on Jones, I think, is a little high.
Yeah, I have 2 plays in that game if I'm okay to jump in.
Of course.
Similar to Aaron Jones, I was like, I like Aaron Jones. I don't like the number considering we had it at 55.5 last week. So I was like, how am I going to play it? And I found Aaron Jones rushing yards versus Hall's rushing yards. It's minus 175 for him to have more rushing yards than Hall. But Jones has had 83, 102, 32 versus the 49ers and 94. Hall has 4, 54, 62, and 54. And I'm expecting Allen to just get more and more carries here. Minus 175. I love that play, quite honestly.
I love the vigor in Corbin's voice when he talks about my Jets.
He had 4.
He's so mad that we have Aaron. He's 4.
Yeah. 4. And then quickly, whilst we're still on this game, Rodgers over 3.5 rushing. He looks so much younger this last couple of weeks. 26, 18 the last 2 weeks. The Vikings have been good against the rush, but Rodgers is using his legs more and more. I think particularly in these kind of overseas games, I think there's going to be a few more broken plays, and it only takes 1 or 2 runs for him to get over this total, even with potential kneel downs if needs be. So yeah, but I really love that Aaron Jones versus Hall. I think that might be one of my favorite plays on the board. So.
Well, if you're listening to Jim, there will be no kneel downs.
Yeah, the Jets stand no chance if we listen to Jim.
No. When we're going through these rushing markets here, Andy, I don't want to take up too much time, but the rushing and receiving.
Sure.
This is a market that I don't think has been talked about enough this season so far. So if just, for instance, let's go to the Jets game, rushing and receiving. because I would be very interested in Aaron Jones, his rushing and receiving. With the Jets cornerbacks, at some point, 94, like if we think that they're going to win and they're going to make this ugly, do you see a 30-yard screen pass from Aaron Jones? I think that's 100% on the table with the weaknesses at linebacker.
Yeah, it's interesting that Brees Hall's is 82.5.
That's so high.
They're telling you that they expect him to catch more.
Exactly.
Let's go to the Colts and the Jaguars, which literally just went off the board. Trey Sermon, as we're recording it, Trey Sermon is going to be getting the start for Jonathan Taylor. I'm not really sure I would do anything with him. I think people are going to be pretty excited to add him just because, it's a new face and Taylor's always going to get all the work. Jaguars, 3.9 yards per carry. They've been good against the run. And Corbin, like we said, for starting Flacco, that you're looking at these wide receivers to really, really have big days. So,
Yeah.
So those are off the board, but I don't have any opinion on the Jaguars. I think they're pretty tough to figure out. I'm not sure how healthy ETN is. So, Ravens and the Bengals. Corbin, we're going to talk about this game in the best bet. So, Jim, I will go to you. You like any of these rushing props?
I'd be looking at the Justice Hill 14.5. I know he doesn't get a lot of touches in the run game, but that number is absolutely stupid low. And what we're seeing is Derrick Henry is punishing defenses, and then Justice Hill gets to come in fresh, and he's the speed back. So you can get this in one play, one rush for 20 yards. Instead of chasing Henry's number, which is always crazy, and Lamar Jackson, I really like pivoting and taking these backup, contribution players on a lot of these teams instead of the big names this season.
Browns and the Commanders. Watson, Daniels, Ford, Corbin. I got nothing for rushing props.
No. Again, everyone looks at Daniels and everyone goes, "Oh, like he's been so great." But these numbers are exactly in the right place for me.
Yep.
There's no value in any of them.
Oh, keyword value. And anytime we give out one of our words that we absolutely hate in the betting industry, we're gonna say value is one of them.
We love value.
Sharp is one of them. Craziest stat of the season so far. The Commanders have 23 scoring drives and 19 incompletions. That's amazing. The freaking Commanders. Panthers and the Bears. Just so many guys. It feels like are going to get carries for the Bears. Like, of course, I played Swift 2 weeks ago when he did nothing, and then they come back and give him all the carries. I have absolutely no feel for this Bears team, and to be honest, I kind of think the coaching staff doesn't have a very good feel for them. So nothing in this one. Jim, you like any rushing props?
No, I won't be looking at rushing in this game.
I like Hubbard over 62.5. The Bears' pass defense is ranked 8th. They're rushed 19th. So that already tells me I feel like the Panthers might run a bit more here. Hubbard's had 104, 114, 64 the last 3 weeks. And I just feel like they're at their best when they have him running the ball as well. I do have a slight concern for what Jim said earlier about his overusage and that he might start to tire. I think we have at least a couple more weeks, and I feel like this is a decent total to try and grab him at.
Yeah, I don't worry about his usage because Jonathan Brooks is slowly making his way back. I think that like if you're Hubbard, don't you want to audition?
Exactly. That's why I think we have at least
sure he's
another
not worried.
3-4 weeks of it.
I think the Panthers are in the same boat too. Once Brooks gets that, give Hubbard. He's been productive, so I'm with you. And I'm starting him in fantasy leagues, absolutely for sure. Even though it's a little bit.
Well, he's not going to be threatened by the ghost of Miles Sanders, so you have to take that into account.
Truth. Jim, you mentioned the rushing and receiving. I know you got to play in this one for the Bills and Texans, right?
Yeah, I like James Cook. I really like James Cook in this situation. The injury to Shakir, I think, makes this even better. 83.5. I don't have the numbers right in front of me. When he's gone over this, but I think I've hit the over on his rushing and receiving twice this season so far. Allen needs somebody, anybody, and that person, that safety net is James Cook. It's not Dalton Kincaid. It's not Coleman. Yes, those guys are going to get their targets, but Cook is getting the lion's share of the carries. He's getting the looks in the receiving game. The only time that we've seen Where is our guy here? Well, they're not giving the two backups for Buffalo,
Oh, Ray Davis
and Johnson.
nothing.
But they're
Nothing.
getting something here or there, but it's garbage time. It's James Cook or bust. Again, we've seen him do it before. Take a receiving play for 30 yards. I'd much rather this than his rushing total because I think he's going to be a weapon in the passing game. And Houston has allowed over 100 yards rushing, I believe, twice this season, and they've allowed, I believe, two backs to go over 30 yards receiving. So that crushes this number of 83.5.
Yeah, I just looked it up. James Cook's gone over in the first 3 games of the season. Obviously,
There you go.
game script was worthless against Baltimore, but what a nice bounce back spot for him to get really involved. Dolphins and the Patriots.
Oh, sorry. Before we jump, I've got one more play
Yeah.
quickly. Stroud over 9.5 rushing. I like that. I almost like that the Bills' offense could be a bit have some issues. I think that means they're going to have to play really good defense. They're sixth best versus the pass and not so versus the run. I think there could be quite a few plays where he's got no one down there. He needs to create situations. I looked at his totals through 4 games, 17, 12, -1, and 13. Has some interest for me, so I quite like that play.
I had thought about Cam Akers. The Bills give up 5.7 yards per carry. That's worst, but a lot of that came from last week. So I was looking at Cam Akers over 48.5, but I don't know what the game script is going to be. You got a really pissed off Buffalo Bills team. You got a Texans team that the strength is their passing game. So I'll probably play it safe. As much as I would like to fade the Bills' rush defense, probably stay away. Dolphins and Patriots. Pretty interesting that there's no Ramondre Stevenson line here after the coach came out. And listen, 4 fumbles, a fumble every game, that can't happen in the NFL. So I don't know. Devon 48.5. I feel like if he's 100% healthy, he's going to get 1 million touches. Corbin, anything you can do with this?
Not for me. I think it's just such an ugly game. Who knows what's really going to happen? It's
All
just
right.
a pass.
Jim, you like any of these?
No.
Rushing? All right.
Nope.
Cardinals and 49ers. Jordan Mason, 86.5.
Love it.
I'm not taking the under.
I love it. Cardinals defense is horrible. It's atrocious.
Yeah.
And these teams have put up into the 30s and high 20s both times they played last year. Both of them. I can see points.
I also like this, but I will just touch on. We're mentioning we were worried about Chuba Hubbard getting tired. Are we not slightly concerned at some point that Mason might start running out of gas? Like first season, 3 games, 100+ rushing. It's a lot of workload for a new kid, basically.
Yeah.
It's on the table, man.
I don't think this is the week that he starts to slow down. I mean, the Cardinals are the 27th versus the run. They're not going to stop him, but it might be one to watch going forward if he's eventually going to start slowing down. So
it's a good point. I think even more it might lean more towards why we like Purdy over 1.5 touchdown passes. So
how do we feel about Debo?
14.5. I don't know what his health level is. That's a problem with I have a lot of these skill position guys. Is I don't know. They have these injuries where it's like, oh, he's going to be out 2 to 3 weeks, and he's playing the next week, and is he going to be just a decoy? Is it decoy Samuel? I mean, he had exactly 14 last week. He had -10 the game before that.
How many rushing attempts is he having in these games, Andy? Is it just like
Only
1
2.
or 2?
Yeah, I mean, the first week he had 8, but that was when we
that was healthy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So 2 each. He might be another guy. Like, why are we giving Deebo Samuel carries against the Cardinals? So, I don't know. I'm staying away from Deebo. These guys that are banged up, I just don't know how to. I never know what to believe with them. So, the Raiders and the Broncos. I cannot believe Alexander Madison is back in our lives. I thought he was done. I'm going to go with Brock Bowers under half a yard at -750 as my best bet.
Explain that prop to me. Somebody. I saw this earlier.
It's so weird. I almost want to take the over because
I do. At +450.
Like, what do they know? What do they know?
Want a little Kelsey sneak down at the goal line or something with the tight end? I mean...
Javonte Williams would be the way that I would look at. Bo Nix was absolutely terrible last week. So what's the best way to give your young quarterback a little bit of a break against a absolutely horrific Raiders team? Run the ball. So Javante over 52.5 is the only thing I like there. Corbin?
No opinions, quite honestly.
It's probably the best way to do it. Giants and Seahawks. Man, I really want to take Kenneth Walker, 72.5, and I want to take Charbonnet, 17.5. This just screams Seahawks hold the ball for 38 minutes and just run the ball. Maybe you look at attempts. The reason I kind of like Charbonnet is, Walker had, the 3 touchdowns, but this gets out of hand, which I think it very well could be. I'm not really sold that the Giants are going to be able to move the ball against the banged up Seattle defense anyway. They get up a couple scores. I think Charbonnet gets the work in the fourth quarter because Walker has been dealing with the injury. So everybody else, I can't trust anything with it. Jim, you like any of these rushing props?
Geno, 10
Nine
yards.
and a half.
Yep, 10
Okay.
yards. 5 for 38 last week in a track meet. Now, the reason why we had 5 is because Aiden Hutchinson set a personal best, or I think it was a league NFL record so far this season, or led the season in quarterback pressures. These defensive ends for the New York Giants get upfield. They get upfield. That's their job, is to funnel towards Dexter Lawrence in the middle. So I think they're going to get upfield, and it's just going to lend to Geno getting out of the pocket once or twice. That 10 yards seems low to me. And we could get this in the first half and then be sitting pretty till the end of the game. I think it could come early. I do worry about the blowout. If they're just going to pound the rock with Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet, like you're saying later on. But I think before that happens, we might get, a 15-yard scramble from Geno, 12-yard scramble.
Corbin, you like any of these?
I was kind of thinking about Daniel Jones. I was like, who's gonna I don't see who's gonna run the ball for the Giants particularly successfully. He's fighting for his job. He's fighting for his life. He's gonna have to do something. And normally, he's not that bad at running the ball. He could easily take off and go for a 15, 20-yard run in just one scoop. I'm not gonna play it, but it does have some kind of interest to me. So.
If you're Daniel Jones, do you really want to fight for your job on this team that's completely thrown you under the bus, given you nothing?
Paying him a
Just
lot of money.
absolutely shit on you on the Hard Knocks. I mean, has there been a team that's given their quarterback
If he wants to play next year for someone, then probably.
Yeah, listen.
Have you seen how bad some of these backups are? He's going to have plenty of job opportunities.
I know, but
next year.
I'm just wondering why, if you're Daniel Jones, why would you really try and take on that linebacker 10 yards downfield?
Well, you remember the first game we were saying how we thought Daboll was just trying to get him killed? He ran him on quarterback reads like 8 times in the first game off an ACL surgery.
Yeah.
That tells you what they really think about him. They're like, run.
Awful. Packers and Rams, Corbin. Josh Jacobs, Kyron Williams have your interest?
I was just looking up Josh Jacobs, and his totals are kind of all over the place, so I can't go with him. Again, Kyron Williams, I mention it every week. We still cannot defend the run, but it's one of those, I'm worried that I feel like we're going to have such an easy day that they might, they're not going to need to run it with Kyron because they'll be so far behind. If there was a line on somehow first quarter or first half rushing, then you could tempt me. I can't get there on a full game kind of total like that. So,
is there a rushing and receiving playable for Kyron?
Yes.
There will be.
So Kyron's 104.5.
I mean, if he goes over 83, I think he goes over 100 rushing. I'd rather just buy the receiving yards and take the 100. If he's gonna, there's nobody else on that team but him. That see the consistency. I'm not really familiar. I haven't looked to see how the Packers are against receiving running back.
Listen. I really like Josh Jacobs over 68.5. This is a Rams team gives up 5 yards a carry. I think it's a Josh Jacobs game. I mean, Corbin, if Jordan Love's knee is still not 100%, what a great way to get a lead and just run Jacobs. I mean, that's what you brought him in there for. So. I like Jacobs there. Cowboys and the Steelers. I actually kind of like Rico Dowdle on his attempts, over 10.5 attempts. Zeke's worthless at this point. He's getting nothing done. Dowdle finally had 11 carries last week. without Brandon Cooks, like the Cowboys are going to have to try and get something. They're the single worst rush offense in the league. So I'm not taking Dowdle over his yards against Pittsburgh, but I think they're going to try and run it. And you gotta give Dowdle more carries. You can't just send Zeke head down into the line for one
Oh,
and a
they
half
will.
yards.
They will.
You're right. They probably will, but yeah, Dowdle on the rush attempts to be the only thing. Corbin, you like any of these?
I was gonna go Dowdle under his yards.
Yeah,
I don't see where he gets to this total. The Steelers have such a good rush defense. I think they're like first or second, aren't they, against the run? He's
3.7 yards per carry, second. Yeah,
he's had 46, 32, 30, and 26. Zeke's practiced all week. I was worried that he wasn't going to play, and I'm like, they're just going to keep trotting Zeke out there for his 1 or 2 yard carries and thinking that he's doing enough. Like, they don't trust Dowdle. It's clear, or they would have done it by now. I don't know what they're waiting for, and this total is too high. I don't. It's
you're
under.
right. Sadly, you're right. You're right.
You think Deuce Vaughn is just sitting on the depth chart like, what about me, guys? Can I get a shot? You
I'm
really got
here,
these
I'm
two
here.
old guys?
He's collecting a nice little paycheck. I think he's probably fine. He's probably seen the lack of lanes opening for the other running backs. He's like, I'm good.
I like
good.
the CD Lamb 4.5. Reason being, he took 5 snaps from the backfield last week. They're putting him in the back. He actually took a direct handoff for, I think, 7-8 yards. Now, I know it was against a different defense, but if they're going to give him the looks in the backfield and they're going to struggle running with the other two guys, you have to think he's going to get 3 attempts from the backfield a game, whether it's
Yeah.
receiving or not. Just an interesting no number. I feel like every game we see that reverse or that jet sweep run with him.
It's an interesting number.
I quite like that, Jim.
Yeah, it's a good look. Receiving props here. Receiving in the Europe game. Corbin, you like any of these guys?
I do. I have 2 reception props. I really like. I think Mike Williams over 2.5 might be one of my favorite ones on the board. They're getting him more and
Yes.
more involved every week as he learns the offense. He's getting more and more used to it. The Vikings' rush defense is okay, but not so good against the pass. He had 4 last week, 3 the week before. I think this might be one of my favorite plays on the board. So,
Nice.
I'm with
And
you,
then
buddy. I'm 100% with you on this.
I also have a Lazard. I think he's also at 2.5. Again,
Yeah.
he just has Rogers' trust. He could get that on like 2-3 drives. Quite honestly, once Rogers has his guy, he just fires to him. He's had 5, 3, 2, and 6. So he's only gone under in 1 game. So yeah, I quite like both those reception props.
Jim, you like any reception props in this one?
Well, I can tell you this. I'm not playing Garrett Wilson anything. He's getting bracket coverage constantly. And what Corbin said, I love the Mike Williams one as well. They need somebody opposite Garrett Wilson that can put some kind of fear in a defense because they don't have it. I
Devontae
don't know
Adams.
what to make. Yeah, there's a certain gentleman that I was hoping might be flying to London this week, but he's not. We'll see. I just don't. They have to get somebody else to threaten, and Mike Williams is that guy. 3 targets, I think that's great. I don't even want to worry about the yards. It is Mike Williams. If he is going to get 3 targets, you have to think that he sails over this 32 just because of the routes that he runs. But that's the only way I can play it. You can't take anything on Garrett Wilson until they show you that they can be on the same page for a game because it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, Colts and the Jaguars, you got to wait for the Colts. But the second we get notice that Flacco is playing, I'm going Pittman over.
Yes.
Big time. Any other Jaguars you like in this one, Corbin?
I kind of like Kirk. Okay, so I was kind of saying that I kind of like Trevor Lawrence, but I don't trust him. So I was like, if he's throwing the ball, it's only really going to be Kirk or maybe Gabe Davis. And I'm like, both of their totals are so low that that's half the reason I took myself off Trevor Lawrence because their totals get nowhere near what his was. But he's got to be the main threat. There's no receptions line yet, but I was kind of more interested in that. He had 12 targets, 7 receptions, 61 yards last week, so went over that total versus the Texans. Week before, he had 10 targets, 8 receptions, and 79 yards against the Bills. The Colts are, I've already said it, but they are awful versus the pass. They even made Caleb Williams look really good. I've said it already. Like, I think they're gonna have to pass the ball. I think they're gonna have to try and get Trevor Lawrence in some kind of rhythm at some point this season. This just feels like the perfect spot, and Kirk is the guy that he's gonna have to go to, I think. So
Ravens and Bengals. Mark Andrews under 24.5. Like he got dropped in one of my fantasy leagues and no one went to pick him up. Like
wow.
they're just not throwing the ball to him at all. There's so many guys in there. I can't really pick one. This game's a pass for me. Jim, do you like any receiving props?
I'll go back to Justice Hill again.
Yeah,
They're not throwing a bunch of passes to Derrick Henry. If it's going to go anywhere, it's going to go to Justice Hill. And we've seen this Bengals defense just be horrible. Could we see a screen pass go for 60? Of course we could. It's the Bengals.
sure.
So that could be hit in one play. That's all it's going to take is Logan Wilson to miss one tackle.
Corbin?
No,
All
I
right.
think I expect. I actually think Burrows could have some success. I can't look how many names are on the list.
I know.
Like
It's
I can't,
ridiculous.
other than Jamar Chase, but like who else? Like one week he trusts Gesicki and suddenly he got a bunch of targets, and then the next week it's someone else, and then it's just like the injury to Burrows. It's just kind of like, you know what,
Yeah.
just move on, save yourself a headache.
Browns and Commanders. Again,
Just carry on. Just
Carry-
Wait,
carry on.
pick me.
Go ahead, Jim.
tag him in, Andy.
What? Who do you like?
Luke McCaffrey. He's getting looks in this offense. He is. I know.
Okay.
It's a low number, 19.5, but he's getting looks. And if Washington is going to be up, I don't see them pounding the rock against the Browns.
Well,
I think it's
Brian
gonna
Robinson doesn't look like he's going to play.
Yeah.
it's-
So, I mean, where's those little 5-yard, ball control offense going to come from? We've seen Luke McCaffrey catch. He's the guy running these 5-yard outs and getting upfield. So I would be interested in Luke McCaffrey starting to get involved in this offense a little bit more week by week. They're two rookies. They got drafted together. You could tell that Daniels has built a rapport with him. I mean, he's got more of a rapport with him than he does Terry McLaurin. Talk about a waste of one of the best receivers in the league. I mean, Terry should be putting up 100 yards a game. So I like the low number on McCaffrey.
All right, over under the rest of the season, Corbin. More fantasy points. Luke McCaffrey or Christian McCaffrey?
Ooh.
Oh, Christian McCaffrey.
I'm going Luke McCaffrey. I don't think Christian plays.
What, at all?
Dude.
He started out with a strained calf, and now he's got double Achilles tendonitis. He's flying back and forth from Germany. I've seen this script. I've seen this script a million times. I didn't draft McCaffrey in any league.
I did.
That I had. The second you see calf injury in the preseason,
Calf
run
leads
for
to
the
Achilles.
hills.
Look at Rodgers. You should know this, Corbin.
It's
How
just-
many years did he have one?
I think we could easily see him in like 10 weeks from now, like for the last few down the stretch. I think. I
And
don't
Luke
know.
McCaffrey will have more points than him.
Let's keep track of this throughout the season. We should do the
all right.
McCaffrey watch.
All right, we're doing the
This'll be
Luke
fun.
We're
McCaffrey
doing the
watch.
McCaffrey.
Who will have more fantasy points this season, Christian McCaffrey or Luke McCaffrey? I just whenever I see calf and Achilles and it's not getting better, it's just like this is a long-term injury. Double Achilles tendonitis. Oh my God. All right, Panthers and the Bears receiving again. All of these. Look at all these.
Too many.
people.
No,
Yeah, it's too many. I can't pick one of them. I want nothing to do with the receiving props in this game. Jim,
I'd be looking at Chuba, but that's it.
Corbin,
Not a strong feel.
No.
Bills and Texans. Corbin, you like any of these guys?
Again, not really. I'm still not sure what the Bills are going to do. Texans, for me, it's Nico Collins. If you got to pick anyone, on the Texans, it's Nico Collins. He's been reliable every single week. Yeah, but then the Bills are so good against the pass. It's kind of like, no, I'm just going to pass, quite honestly.
Stefan Diggs' revenge game.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's in the touchdowns. I don't know if it's in the yards, but it is in that game plan 1,000% that they want to get Stefan Diggs the ball.
I would go touchdown. I would go with the touchdown thing.
That's
I wonder if
probably the better way.
Here we go, guys. Dolphins and Patriots.
All right,
I mean,
how low are these numbers? That's what we need to know.
Tyreek at 46.5. I'm not taking it over. I, I,
None of us can take any of these with any kind of confidence.
No,
There's just no
feel
way.
bet, yeah.
All right, we
just-
move on.
Yeah.
Cardinals and the 49ers. I feel like Marvin Harrison Jr., you can just take unders every game, and like you'll probably hit like 60% of the time. The time that you go over, he's going to have 1,000,000 yards, but the time he goes under, he's going to have. I can't get there this week just because I feel like they could be down and they throw to him quite a bit in the second half. But it's just again a lot. I would take actually under on Jordan Mason 10.5. You talked about like why would you put more wear and tear on Jordan Mason? I'm not sure he would fit into the passing game. Of course, one dump off, and he goes over. Corbin.
No. I like Jawan Jennings, but there's no number for him at the minute.
Really
But
surprised on that one.
yeah, that makes me kind of a bit suspicious. But
I know.
that's the only thing I like to play on the 49ers offense really at the minute, and Mason's rushing. I was going to ask Jim, are we doing new shake this week or?
Oh, we'll get to Kyle.
We'll get to Kyle.
Oh, okay. That means I know what section it's coming up in.
I got some notes for that one.
Oh, just some notes. Okay.
Raiders and Broncos. Corbin, you talked about Minshew under. I was looking at Jacoby Myers under 41.5 because I would think he would get the Patrick Surtain treatment. That being said, I think your play is better than mine. 188
Thank you.
under. Yeah, because one of these guys probably goes over, but not really sure who. And yeah, it's probably just going to be a nightmare. So
We say we do the maths right, but what was his total? 188 or something.
188. So you got
Do
Bowers
the maths.
45,
40,
Yeah.
41.
Let's just say both 45. So that's 90. That's 100.
Do you,
What is
do
it?
you just play all
125.
three?
No,
Do
you
you
just take
the
Minshew.
under?
Just take Minshew under.
Just take
Minshew
Minshew
under.
But then, yeah, you add all those total. That's what 125. Where are we going to find another 65 yards?
Against this defense.
And that's including all three of those names going over. It's just
Yeah.
I don't see it. I don't see how.
I'm liking
I
this-
think it's Brock Bowers.
Okay.
Reason being,
Even if
Michael
Brock goes for
Michael
100, I
Mayer's
don't
out.
think he
No,
goes
no.
over.
But Michael Mayer's out, so they
Yeah.
have to run Bowers as a traditional tight end, unless they
that's
bring
it.
up some guy from the practice squad, that used to be a left tackle, and he's going to play tight end. So with Michael Mayer out, I don't know if they're going to be able to split out Bowers. Now the question is, does that take Surtain off of him and put him on Myers? Just a thought.
Probably.
Just take Minshew.
Yeah. Giants and the Seahawks. I feel like Wan'Dale Robinson and his receptions is going to be a really, really popular play. What is his receptions? Is it 5.5, 6.5?
8, I bet you.
6.5. Wow. Okay.
That seems a little low.
Makes sense. He could have 8 catches for 31 yards. I could totally see that. Corbin, you like any receiving props in this game?
No.
Jim?
Well, I still believe this Giants secondary is garbage, but I don't think that they're going to be tested. It could end up being just the Seattle Kenneth Walker show.
Yeah.
So I can't, do I think Metcalf could torture him? Yeah. Tyler Lockett's been kind of quiet this year, and I don't know if it's fall off or what. What's Tyler's line at? It's so low now, you can't take an under on it, and you don't know what kind of work he's going to get. So, yeah, nothing for me to officially play here.
Seattle's such a tough team to figure out receiving. If you like him to throw the ball a lot, you just got to take Geno and not pick a wide receiver. Packers and Rams, Corbin, I'm interested in your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, quite honestly, I'm just going to start. I feel like every number is perfectly in the right place, which is very frustrating because I look at it and I was like, Tucker Kraft, like he is going to get so much work. But I think his I like their receptions more than their yards. I think his Kraft's receptions is at 3.5, if I remember. Well, I guess we'll see in a second.
Mm-hmm. Kraft is 3.5, correct.
It's kind of annoying. It's like I like all of those. Like Reed's going to get the ball, but they've kind of put all the lines in just the right place. So my best advice would be to go with alts. I love the alts on this week. I like Kraft to have just 2 receptions, Wicks to have a couple of receptions, Reed 3 or 4 receptions, you can get quite a nice same game parlay with some of those guys. So yeah, it's hard to pick just one, I feel, this week, but Kraft is probably the one that I'll mention. So
One of my favorite plays of the week is Tutu Atwell over 50.5. His first week with Puka and with Cooper Cup, he had no targets, no catches. Next week, 4 targets, 3 catches for 48 yards, and then the last couple weeks against San Fran and Chicago, he's had 93 yards and 82 yards. He's a leading receiver on this team. Like Tyler Johnson's been a big disappointment. Demarcus Robinson hasn't really been doing that much. And the Packers defense just is really, really vulnerable. Kyron's going to open it up a little bit, and I think Atwell's just going to continue to get peppered with some targets here. So, I mean,
I think Jair Alexander is questionable as well,
he's
if I
questionable.
remember, which just unlocks the passing game even more because Eric Stokes on the other side is god awful. I'm sorry, he is so bad. So
Jair did practice Thursday and Friday. I just checked. So.
we're gonna need him. So
Yeah, I still like Tutu. I mean, he went over against the Bears and the 49ers, so I do like that one. Cowboys and the Steelers, George Pickens, anyone? Jim?
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Sign me up. It's Justin Fields with his number 1 receiver. He's going to look to him. If it's not there, he's going to take off.
Yeah.
That's just him.
Jim, how do we bet?
Bet?
I was going to say, how do we bet on where's the odds on him to look at Pickens and then just run? Like how do we specifically have just those runs?
I got to give him credit this year, and good. Side note, also good for Justin Fields to get booted out of Chicago for Caleb Williams and be here, leading a top team here. Pat Fryermuth's been a good target for him. Unfortunately, like Corbin's been saying, I think the line's right. I think it's right where it needs to be. So I think the Pickens line is low. And the thing with Pickens and with Dallas is Dallas's secondary is interception or bust. They just are. They give up big plays. So you can get this in 2 targets to Pickens. I mean, would anybody be shocked to see him catch a 30, 40-yard touchdown over Diggs when Diggs goes for a interception?
I'm going to slightly piggyback off that. What is his longest reception line this week, Andy? Yeah.
Longest reception is...
I feel like we said it earlier. I forgot which market, but I feel like the longest reception, I mention it quite a bit.
So Pickens is 22.5.
I quite like that.
Fryermuth 15.5. Yeah, those are your...
I like both of those.
Yeah, I like Pickens's. I personally I like Pickens's over the best. Just over on Pickens. Call it a day.
Yeah,
like it. All right, that is going to do it for receiving props. Once again, if you haven't hit the like button, go ahead and do that. And if you can't leave the hottest take in the world in the comments section, just type the word print. But we do want to hear your best bets. I want to hear some props that are jumping off the page to you. Any sneaky ones that we haven't mentioned here. We're going to get into some official plays here. Shout out to us. We're all eliminated from the Survivor. We don't have to worry about Survivor. This is that was the smartest thing I did this year in NFL is not join an actual Survivor pool with money. I don't think I'll ever join one ever again. It's been great not having to worry about it. So, all right, let's start with the alt universe here, Corbin. You talk this out. You said you liked a lot more the team totals that you're dealing with here in these ones, right?
So what are we now? Week 5? I quite honestly have not had the most success with player props for whatever reason. Just game scripts or like the money lines haven't been particularly paying off with some of these crazy upsets. I know I had the Bengals obviously week 1 and then the Ravens when they were up like 2 scores versus the Raiders. Like so many of these, there's just a lot of weirdness going on. And the one consistent thing that I've won most weeks are the team totals and some of the alt spreads, particularly on the teams plus an alt spread, not the like minus where they still need to win. So we are going with the Bears under 31.5 and the Panthers plus 14.5. So the Bears have scored 24, 16, 13, and 24. I think the Panthers defense is a bit underrated. Like they're not the best, but they're not this kind of bad to give up this kind of total. I think the Panthers now with Dalton have some kind of offense. I think Chuba's going to have a good week. 14.5 is a lot when I don't think the Bears are going to go north of 25, quite honestly. So that's the first part. That might be my favorite part of all three. Then we have the Packers plus 10 and to score over 16.5. I really like the Packers team totals this week. So Love obviously came back last week, looked horrific in the first half, but looked way improved in the second. The Rams have just so many injuries and they suck on defense so badly. I think at worst, this is a close game. I see no world where the Rams win by more than 10. The Packers have scored 29, 30, 16, and 29 this year. The Rams have given up 24 to the Bears, 24 to the 49ers, 41 to the Cardinals, and 26 to the Lions. So that's a nice kind of breathing space, I think, for the Packers there. And then the Ravens over 16.5. They've scored 35, 28, 23, and 20. The Bengals have given up 24 to the Panthers, 38 to the Commanders, 26 to the Chiefs, and 16 week one to the awful Patriots. I think the Ravens soar well into the 20s. So you wrap all three of those up for minus 137.
Love it, and I love that you're kind of dialing in on what's been working.
Yeah.
So I agree completely. All right, let's do inside the trenches. Jim, you've isolated two teams to talk about. This is where we talk about the offense and defensive lines, where the struggles are, maybe some spots to fade or support. Let's talk about the Jets and the Bears, and we'll start with the Jets.
We'll start with the Jets, my lovely Jets, after that beautiful performance last week against Denver. Just take a guess, guys. How many pre-snap penalties did the Jets offensive line have?
Oh, I know this.
Throw a number. Throw a number out there.
5.
Four.
Ding, ding. Corbin's on the money. 5 false starts alone. That doesn't include illegal formations, offsides. On top of that, let's go to the Jets' defensive line. Andy, how many times were the Jets called for being in the neutral zone last week?
I don't know, 2 or 3.
2 times, Andy. Let me ask you, Andy. Was it 2 different players or the same guy?
Same guy?
Same guy. 2 times. Can't figure out how to line up. Look, Will McDonald has had a great breakout season. He's up there in sacks. But the undisciplined nature of this Jets defensive line and offensive line. You guys remember we had that guy, Quinnen Williams? Yeah, where's he been all year? Mr. Second graded tackle.
Jeez,
He's
Jen is calling him out.
I'm getting fired up on this one. I was going to come in hot here if we're talking about the Jets. I think it is an absolute sham. Now, as far as the offensive line worries, the Jets lost Morgan Moses, and now they have their rookie playing right tackle. That has to kill some kind of chemistry. Moses is a setter of the line. He sets that right side. It's just not there, guys. And that's where the struggles with Breece Hall is coming from. And also the protection from Rodgers. Not having 2 bookend veterans, I do expect him to play a little bit better, but we have to face reality that line is not the same with a rookie at right tackle. Defensively, their pressure has not been there. They're still at with Hassan Reddick. I don't see their pressure being there against Minnesota. I think Minnesota is going to keep them off balance. So, when you're looking at your plays, look to fade the Jets' offensive and defensive line in this situation. Moving on to the Bears. I would say there's not a more ridiculed line in the NFL than the Bears. And it started out with just Caleb Williams running for his life. At first, it was, okay, well, Caleb's not making this any easier. I don't think it's just Caleb. I think this offensive line is pretty bad. I really do. I think Caleb's actually gotten better with his mobility. But in this situation, you can't trust the Bears to sit there and just pound the rock. I don't think they're that type of offensive line. The run game behind it, there are open holes, but the running backs are not hitting it. Like Andy had mentioned with DeAndre Swift, it's, we bet him to go over 1 week. He does nothing. Then he breaks a couple good runs and goes over. So still quell your expectations with the Bears offensive line. I do think they're playing better, but I think they're going to give up 1 or 2 sacks. Defensively, Montez Sweat starting to come alive. Big name signing. I think he's going to get some pressure. He is their bell cow pass rusher. They're finding ways to move him around a little bit more. So look at Montez Sweat to get some pressure on the quarterback this week.
All right. You already mentioned him, so let's give out a couple of sack props that we think might be worth talking about. You mentioned him, Montez Sweat.
Yep, Montez Sweat. He's the number one pass rusher on the team. They brought him in from Washington to transform that defense, and we've seen him start to come alive these past 2 weeks. So at plus 105 for half a sack, I will take that in a heartbeat.
And what do you like about Rashawn Gary here?
Well, I like the matchup that Rashawn Gary has. That's for sure. He's the best pass rusher. Corbin knows this. The other guys are Kenny Clark, who's more of a run stopper, and you have old Preston Smith, who's not a dominant pass rusher. So if anybody's going to get there for that defense, I think it's going to be Gary. Going along with Corbin's plays, I think the Packers score a lot. I think the Packers are up, and that's going to provide opportunities for Gary in this situation. So you're going to give me plus 180 on a number one pass rusher where I feel that the team is going to be in the lead and be able to set the dogs loose. Give me Gary over half a sack.
I love that one.
All right. Those are
I knew you would.
All right, let's get to our best bets for the show. And interestingly, Corbin, you have mentioned both mine and Jim's. I'll go first.
Oops.
Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, over 3.5 yards rushing. He's sucking the ball and running. He can't. Not only did he get downgraded for being hurt, he's off the injury report completely. This is a Minnesota team that can put pressure on the quarterback. I think he can evade the rush, and he is throwing the ball away a little bit more, but he's tucking and running the last couple times. The last 2 games, he's flown over this. We talked about him going under in week 1, no yards. Then the next week, he had a kneel down for -1 yard. But the last 2 weeks, he's running, and
he loves the attention as well, doesn't he? He loves it when he gets those little runs and he can just stand there and just say, "Look at me."
And the other thing was last week he had quite a few, he had quite a few rushes. I think he had 5, and it was rainy, bad weather. I think that's what we're gonna get again. So all it takes is really with this total, one play for Minnesota to get pressure on the outside, and him to step up and run for 8 or 9 yards, and then we're gonna be good. So I love Aaron Rodgers over this rushing yards. It only takes one play. So, Jim, you're going back to Kyle Juszczyk when they raised, what was his number the last couple weeks?
Wasn't it like 16 or 17 or something?
It's so funny. It looks like Jim froze here, so Corbin will go.
I'll go with mine then. So mine's a same game parlay in the Ravens-Bengals game. It is Derrick Henry, 60 plus rushing. It's Zach Moss under 65.5. And it's Ravens team total. I think it was at 20.5 we picked. Well, we'll start with the team total. I've mentioned it earlier. The Ravens gone over this quite easily. They've scored 35, 28, and 23 the last 3 weeks. The Bengals have given up this total to the Panthers, Commanders, and Chiefs quite convincingly. The only one that didn't was the Patriots, and we know their offensive struggles. So that's pretty self-explanatory so far. Derrick Henry's been crushing it. I like him even at 82.5, but the 60 plus gives you that little bit of wiggle room. So he's had 199, 151, and 84 the last 3 weeks. The Bengals ranked 25th versus the run and only 11th versus the pass. We know the Ravens love to run the ball. It's the easiest path to victory. Henry's going to run it. So that's pretty self-explanatory again. And then Moss under 65.5. I was mentioning to you guys before about his totals, 51, 58, 34, and 44. And I like him at his normal total again, but that extra couple of yards to get up into the 60s just gives you that wiggle room. If he breaks a big one or the game script doesn't quite go to plan, it's just it gives you that room basically. The Ravens have such a good rush defense. I'm expecting them to be ahead, so the Bengals are going to be throwing the ball. It all just kind of sits nicely all together. I think the price is negative 140. It looks like I can just about see. So yeah, that's my favorite play.
All right, Jim. Kyle Juszczyk, after a couple of insane weeks where the total was near 20 yards, reel it back in, and you like him to go over his receiving once again.
Well, first thing I want to know, who's cutting off my internet every week when I got to do my best bet?
Your best bet.
Hey, let's go to Jim's best bet. Oh, okay. Here we go. Every week.
Almost went again.
That's no, listen.
Get it out quick, Jim.
Right? This Juszczyk line got so out of control It was laughable. And I regret so much not taking the unders. They had him up to 26.5 yards receiving at one point, which is lunacy.
Jesus.
Absolute lunacy. The following week, they only dropped, he had what? I think one reception for 12 yards. They drop it down to 19.5. That's it. And I didn't play the under. Well, now we're back to reality. We're back to one reception. Kyle Juszczyk in the past 2 games against Arizona has seen 5 total targets. 5 total targets. Keep in mind, we don't need him to light the world on fire. He's gone so far this season 7 receptions for 77 yards. That equates to well over 8.5 yards per carry. So now that this is playable again, I'm back on it. If it's under 10 yards, this line is playable. But to see everybody betting 26.5 when Kittle and Debo was out was just, it's laughable at that point. So now it's playable. We'll go back to old reliable number 44.
Love it. Love it. Corbin, same game parlay. Juszczyk over 8.5 yards receiving. Aaron Rodgers over 3.5 yards rushing. Those are our best bets. Thanks for joining us, guys. Don't forget to check out all of our best plays over at wagertalk.com. All of our NFL plays will be up if you're watching this on Saturday. Our UFC 307 plays are up. Don't forget to hit the like button. Leave us a comment in the comment section. And don't forget to type the word print if you can't come up with a hot take or a best bet. Appreciate all of you. Let's practice good bankroll management. Don't go all in on certain plays. Let's just try and pick off some units here or there and end up with a profitable week. Good luck on your plays. We'll see everyone later.
Good luck.
See you guys later.